political shock, and underground power struggle. Han Dong-hoon's fierce reaction to Ko Seong-guk joining the party. Exclusive analysis on Sk-Andre channel. The story begins with a seismic event within the People Power Party as Mr. Ko Seong-guk officially joins the party. This event immediately triggered a wave of strong opposition, not only from Han Dong-hoon, but also from major media outlets like the Chosun Ilbo and Jonggong Ilbo. The fact that a figure like Ko Seong-guk entering the party causes such concern and fierce reaction among these forces is truly a phenomenon worth pondering. It is evident that Han Dong-hoon and the media faction are attempting to frame Ko Seong-guk as a private person of President Yoon Suk-yeol or Yoon's individual to diminish his prestige. They incessantly question his sincerity regarding his apology for the martial law issue. But in reality, this is merely a pretext to purge those loyal to the president. Delving deeper into Han Dong-hoon's attitude, we witness a bitter paradox unfolding within the ruling party. If a supporter of President Yoon Suk-yeol wishes to join the party, they are blocked, whereas those who demand impeachment or call for the president to leave the party are tolerated. This raises a massive question regarding the current nature of the People Power Party. Is it still a genuine conservative party, or has it been hijacked by fashionable leftists masquerading as conservatives, using loyalty to the president as a yardstick to exclude one's own allies? Demonstrates a serious deviation in the ideology of those currently running the party. The issue does not stop within the party. It is actively abetted by the media, with Chosun Ilbo and Jonggong Ilbo simultaneously publishing articles with aggressive tones. They cast doubt on Jang Dong-hyok's will to overcome the martial law crisis and link this to the appearance of Ko Seong-guk. It seems the name Ko Seong-guk brings an invisible fear that compels them to concentrate their firepower on attacking him. Looking at the rival Democratic Party, we see a stark difference. They view appearances on YouTube channels like Kim Woo-jun's as an honor, even a political pilgrimage. From the presidential secretary to Lee Jae-myung, all take pride in appearing there, while the People Power Party trembles in fear and seeks to boycott voices that support them on social media platforms. This resistance likely stems from the fear of traditional media outlets, like the Cho Jung-dong Group, losing their status to the growing power of YouTubers. They feel their territory is being encroached upon and their influence diluted, leading to hostility. As for Han Dong-hoon, he seems to calculate that he can only feel secure if he holds absolute control or establishes his own regime. And the arrival of an influential figure like Ko Seong-guk is a stumbling block that must be removed. On SBS Radio, Han Dong-hoon did not hesitate to criticize the recruitment of Ko Seong-guk right before the day Jang Dong-hyok issued an apology regarding martial law, calling it an open provocation. He labeled Ko Seong-guk with tags such as symbol of election fraud conspiracy theories or martial law supporter to smear the image of the new member. However, when reevaluating the concept of Yoon's person that the opposition uses for mockery, we see a completely different meaning. Students and genuine supporters understand that this phrase represents the spirit of defending South Korea's liberal values through difficult decisions like martial law. It was a desperate but necessary effort to counter the rampant actions of anti-state forces and the unconstitutional behavior of the Democratic Party. Therefore, supporting President Yoon Suk-yeol means supporting the Constitution and the survival of the nation, not blind allegiance, as Han Dong-hoon claims. It is laughable that Han Dong-hoon, who is facing the risk of expulsion from the party due to the party member bulletin board scandal, arrogates to himself the right to judge who enters and who leaves, like a defective cancer scanner. The issue of election fraud is also a hot button that Han Dong-hoon and his faction deliberately avoid or deny. While the world is shaken by election fraud investigations in the U.S. or the arrest of Maduro in Venezuela, the internal leadership of the People Power Party treats those who mention this issue as lunatics. President Donald Trump once declared there were truckloads of evidence regarding fraud, yet the self-proclaimed liberal conservatives in the party cover their ears and eyes. The allergic reaction to this truth is a high-dose litmus test to distinguish true conservatives from imposters. Han Dong-hoon argues that admitting Ko Seong-guk, who was fired from terrestrial broadcasting for pro-martial law remarks, will make the public doubt the party's determination to overcome its past. But let us ask ourselves, who does the People Power Party exist for, if not for its members and supporters? Why must they look at the Democratic Party's facial expressions to decide their own path? fearing that Ko Seong-guk's entry will damage the party's image in the eyes of the opponent is a slavish and cowardly mindset. In reality, the approval ratings for President Yoon Suk-yeol and Jang Dong-hyuk among party members remain very high, much higher than what the media fabricates. The question is, what does overcoming the martial law crisis mean? Does it mean chiming in with the Democratic Party's rhetoric to condemn the president? Meanwhile, the opposition itself was the cause that pushed the country into chaos, forcing the president to act according to the Constitution. The president declared martial law under his authority and lifted it when the National Assembly requested it. This was an entirely standard legal procedure. Yet, those who call it insurrection are the ones truly plotting to overthrow the constitutional order. Furthermore, major newspapers are distorting Ko Seong-guk's intentions regarding alliances with smaller parties like the Liberty Unification Party or the Republican Party. They clamor that Ko Seong-guk will exert pressure to force the party to share seats or concede electoral districts. However, in the current political context, uniting the strength of the entire right wing is a prerequisite for victory. Sharing and making concessions in appropriate regions is a necessary strategy for a political alliance, not blackmail as the media portrays. People like Ko Seong-guk and YouTubers hold a crucial role because they are the ones who go directly to the streets to communicate and listen to the hearts and minds of the people. Although their delivery may sometimes be exaggerated, it cannot be denied that they are sharper than anyone in grasping public sentiment. It is precisely because of the fear of this real influence that salon politicians and outdated media are trying every way to block the infiltration of this new force. But the tide has begun to turn as Jang Dong-hyuk, after a tactical retreat via his apology, has officially activated the Ethics Committee. This move is a powerful counterstrike aimed at Han Dong-hoon, putting the disciplinary process against him into actual motion. The panic within Han Dong-hoon's camp shows they sense the danger of a purge drawing very near. The core problem of the party right now is not the noise of YouTubers or the presence of Ko Seong-guk, but the existence of Han Dong-hoon. Excising this tumor is an urgent step to return the People Power Party to a normal trajectory and restore its core values. Based on the decisive moves from Jang Dong-hyuk and the activation of the Ethics Committee, I believe that in the coming days, the internal war will escalate to its peak. Han Dong-hoon, a man who does not easily give up his ambitions, will certainly not sit still and be bound. It is highly likely he will use his close media network to launch personal attacks targeting key members of the Ethics Committee or even launch a direct assault on President Yoon Suk-yeol's reputation once again to divert public opinion. However, with Ko Seong-guk officially joining and bringing the power of grassroots support, the balance of power is gradually tilting toward the loyalists. There is a high probability that Han Dong-hoon will be increasingly isolated within the party and face severe disciplinary action, potentially suspension of party rights or expulsion, forcing him to seek a separate political path outside, detached from the People Power Party. The story of Ko Seong-guk joining the party is not merely about adding a new member. It is the signal flare for a total counteroffensive by genuine conservatives against opportunists and hypocrites. It exposes the true face of politicians and media who manipulate public opinion for group interests, ignoring national interests and the aspiration of party members. Through this event, we clearly see the line between patriotism and betrayal, between courage and cowardice. Does the People Power Party have the mettle to cut out the toxic elements and be reborn strongly, or will it continue to be torn apart by internal moles? What do you think about Han Dong-hoon's future in the party? Leave a comment below to discuss. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the Esk Andre channel for the sharpest and latest